All right, so here we have another one. This is actually very interesting. Somebody suggested to me at one point that Magnezone from Gen 4, the one Pokemon that Magneton evolves into, it was actually scrapped at one point. Not Magnezone, but the scrapped evolution Magnetite that we talked about in Gen 1. Well, eventually it was a Pokemon that would eventually they would scrap that and they would eventually later go back to it and add Magnezone as an evolution. And it's kind of interesting if you look at Magnezone's final evolution, it kind of looks like Magnetite, sort of. It's just different though, you know, because what a tite is supposed to be like these little balls of magnets, something like that. It's something to do with magnetism, and that's what Magneton is. It's just a magnet, you know, really interesting. So what I think is interesting is, so originally the concept was, you know, they had 191 Pokemon at least. And well, they had more, but this is what we know of so far. Magnetite was scrapped due to cartridge limitations, so we only had Magnemite, and Magneton. And then once Magneton forced an evolution, it eventually became Magnezone. Now, Magnezone is an interesting Pokemon because there are people that, it's kind of funny how they mistake it. They think there's UFOs flying in the sky, but it's just Magnezone flying through the sky. And it's actually debatable if Magnezone is actually a man-made Pokemon or if it was made by another alien civilization, not counting Arcturus. It's just like a satellite Pokemon that somehow has a soul and it's able to intertwine in its own free will. It's actually very interesting. So I wouldn't be surprised that Magnetite inspired Magnezone because one, it looks like it, but at the same time though, it takes the final form of Magneton once Magnemite evolves into Magneton, and then Magneton evolves into Magnezone. There's even been, somebody actually pointed this one out to me, and it's actually going based on Gen 1, or Pokemon Black and White 1's description of it. It says that there were a bunch of scientists that tried to force an evolution on it, but it failed. And they're talking about Magnezone. And I'm thinking that what happened was they tampered with its evolution, and it might have been a nod off to a Magneton or Magnezone. But what is, like, when you see the three magnets that are Magnezone, is it supposed to be Magnetons, like, or is it Magnezone altogether? You know, I know that kind of sounds confusing because it's already Magnezone by the time it evolves, but it came from three Magnetons, because that's just what the magnetism is. Magnemite starts off as a simple magnet, then it comes to three Magnemites as one, and then Magneton, three magnets, and then Magnezone has a one giant magnetic field. Kind of like how Metagross comes from Beldum. Then you had, I'm trying to remember what the other one is off the top of my head. You know, it evolves based on magnetism. And then eventually that Pokemon becomes its own giant, you know, magnet field. But it's a psychic and a steel type rather than just an electric type. Interesting. So it's interesting to think